All right, you got to tell us your name first.
Fred J. Lorenz.
All right. How old are you now, Fred? You 80?
85.
85. Where were you raised at?
Dover, Missouri.
Dover
Dover and Lexington.
and Lexington. Now, when did you go to the military?
In 1956, in August. On Labor Day weekend, they flew us from Kansas City to San Diego in a prop plane, of course. There was no jet planes, not commercial at that time.
How many of you was there on that prop plane?
Oh, going to boot camp, I think there was probably 65.
Oh boy. Now, isn't it in boot camp where you decided you was going to stop smoking?
No,
When was that?
Unfortunately, I smoked until I met my first wife.
Yeah. Didn't you get caught smoking or something when you was in boot camp though?
Yes, I know. Okay, when you're in boot camp in the Marine Corps, they have what they call the wash racks, and you take your clothes out there and with a scrub brush, and you scrub your own clothes. And so one night, there was about 4 of us decided, we could leave our Quonset hut here and go down to the wash rack and have our smoke, which we were not supposed to do. And we were sitting there just joking and having a good time. And one of us said, wouldn't it be something if the drill instructor walked up out here? And the drill instructor said, I am right here. And then we were really in trouble because we had to appear before the captain. And when they get you in their office, they can make you feel like you're just about that big and that they scare you to death.
Yeah.
And say that they could put us in the brig for breaking the rules,
Yeah.
which is we did. And then we weren't supposed to smoke the rest of the time we were in boot camp, which was another 6 weeks or so. And but through the 6 weeks, the drill instructor then kind of forgot that we had been in trouble. We kind of joined in with the rest of them whenever we had a smoking break.
Now, what did you do in the military?
I was a supply clerk.
A supply clerk.
Yes, and I worked in inside all the time. I was a typist, not a good one, but good enough for the military.
Yeah.
And there were no computers, of course, at that time. And everything was done on a typewriter. And, I had a pretty good job.
When you got out, what year did you get out?
1959.
59, you got out. What did you go into doing when you got out?
Well, when I first went back to my hometown, they gave me my job back at the newspaper for $1 an hour. And I could see that wasn't going to go too far at that location. And I'd had just a little bit of experience there of setting type. So I found out about another newspaper was only 10 miles away. And they offered me a job at $2 an hour. So I doubled my wages. And I stayed there for almost 2 years.
I can't remember where in the mix you became a Christian.
Okay, after I was there in my hometown for a couple of years, and then my older brother had moved to Wyoming, of all places, and he was the foreman on a newspaper, a large larger paper, and he wanted to get me out there because they were hard up for help, and so I moved out there, and I was there just about 2 years and 3 months. In the interim, I met my wife, a beautiful young lady, and we were married in January of 1962, and so I was not happy with the cold weather in Wyoming, and I enjoyed the job, and I had a lot of friends there. I met my wife there, and so the question is, how did I get to be a Christian? For a while, I would, while I was just going with my wife, dating her, I would visit the church once in a while, but not too faithfully by any means. And so when we got married, the church there in Riverton was kind of a new congregation, and they did not have any elders, but the preacher talked to me, and the preacher said, I just ask you two things that I would require, or that I would like for you to do. One would be, do not keep your wife from coming to church. And number two is, I'd like to have a Bible study with you sometime. I thought, well, forget that. But after 2 months of being married and visiting the church off and on, I decided, well, yeah, I like to study the Bible, because I was getting real interested just from being at the service and hearing what the preacher would bring from the Word of God. And I knew right away I needed something. And so I told the preacher, I said, whenever it's convenient, I'll do the Bible study. And he set up the time schedule, and we go over once a week and study. And he started, of course, real basic, because even though I'd visited churches for probably most of my life off and on, I never was involved and never studied anything very deeply. But the way he worked his studies was, he started in the Old Testament. You learn the basics of what God expected of you. And so it just progressed week by week, and we got to the New Testament and studied it, the book of Acts thoroughly, and I decided that I needed to be a Christian. And I obeyed the gospel on Sunday night, surprised the whole congregation, including my wife. So that's how my Christian life started.
And when did you end up back in Missouri? What year did you say?
I came back in '62.
In 62.
We'd only been married 6 months. And my wife, she had gone to York College for a year and a half, I believe. And she was in a car accident. She was not the driver, but it damaged her back so badly. Now, this is before I knew her. That she was in a body cast for 6 months. And, but anyhow, when we left Riverton, we stopped at York, Nebraska, so she could use the facilities. And she went to the bathroom, and it was so hot. She was used to that Wyoming air, she said I just nearly passed out in the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And so then we progressed to where we were going, which was Lawrence, Kansas, where I had taken a job. And it was so hot and humid, we got out of the car and she said, I'm not staying. She said, let's go back. But we stayed and we were there for 6 years and both of my daughters were born there.
When did you end up back in Springfield?
Well, from Lawrence, Kansas, I went to Oklahoma City and worked there for about 2.5 years. And I made really good money for somebody that, in those days, somebody with no college education, but I was running the typesetting machine, and I worked all the hours I ever wanted to work, and but the my boss was so ungodly, it just wasn't anything I could handle anymore. I had to go somewhere, and I thought, well, this guy's got a good business just selling typesetting, and I think I could do that for myself. But if I was going to live in Missouri, I'd only have a choice of Kansas City, St. Louis, or Springfield. It had to be a larger city because of the fact that you have to have quite a few customers to make a living. And I was very fortunate and chose Springfield. And one of my first customers was Mr. Dennis Smith, who was a gospel preacher when he was still in business. And he sent all of his work to me. So that gave me a ground start.
So what year was it you started the type center?
71.
71.
In May of 71.
When did you give it up?
When did I give it up? February of 2014.
Boy, I'm not good at math, but that's a long time.
That's a long time.
When you're done, I was going to ask Fred if you want to lead a prayer.
I'll take the closing.
Closing prayer. I'll tell Cole.
So, when did you start going to North Nashville? As soon as you came to Springfield?
First Sunday we moved here. We moved here on a Friday, and when we got to my duplex that I had rented, there was a couple of people there from North National ready to help us unload our furniture.
Yeah.
That's how the news gets around.
Yeah. And so when you went to North National the whole time until you left Springfield later. When did you serve as a deacon while you were there?
Yes.
Yeah. How long was that?
Well, let's see, it was 71. About 12 years as a deacon.
Yeah. How long were you an elder up there? I know you were an elder.
Nearly 20 years.
Nearly. That's a long time. That's almost as long as I've been alive. You put those together. You got a funny story to tell on your girls?
On the girls, my girls were, I don't know if I scared them to death. What? But they were fine girls. Right offhand, I don't.
You ain't got any embarrassing stories to tell on, huh?
Nothing's coming to me. Deborah was always the one that told on herself,
That's helpful.
She was driving already, and one night, my wife and I were already in bed. She comes home, comes in the bathroom crying, and said, "Take the car away from me for a couple of weeks." And How many kids would do that?
Yeah.
And we want to know what's going on. Well, she got stopped. She didn't actually get a ticket. She got a warning. But she felt very badly about it. My other daughter, although they're both sweet girls, and you're going to be very fortunate because you've got 3. I'm jealous. But she was the type that, you know, she could go to camp and she'd be fine out there for a week or 2 or whatever the case may be. But Deborah, she couldn't stay overnight. She didn't want to be away from home.
I understand that. I was always a homebody when I was a kid. You got any good life advice you want to give anybody?
Any good
Life advice?
life advice?
Or wife advice, either one.
Well, the only thing I know is that you need to be faithful to God and be faithful to your wife and have an enjoyable life with your wife and your children, because the fact that time goes so swiftly and you don't realize, you think, well, boy, if the kids get grown and mom and I are at home, it'd be so peaceful, and it really is. It gets real peaceful. You know, you miss your children.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're blessed with grandchildren, and that helps. And then you have great grandchildren, as I have 5. So
Yeah. How many just regular grandkids do you have? I can't remember.
just 4.
Just 4?
Just 4 grandchildren and 5 great grandchildren. And I say I am truly blessed in that all of the, of course, children and grandchildren that are old enough to be Christians are Christians and are living a good life. And I also have one son-in-law that's an elder. I have one grandson that's a preacher for the church, and one granddaughter, her husband is a gospel preacher. So out of all of my family, I couldn't ask for any more.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for any more. And it's amazing how you, being a member of the church, how you closely you are with so many people in the world. Because I visited here today and met Beverly Baker, and I haven't seen her in years and years. She at one time came to church, her and Phil Baker at North National for
Yeah.
a few years.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking. Appreciate it.
I hope the people that see this can understand me, because I'm having trouble with my throat.
If they can't, we'll sit down. We'll do another one.
Yeah.
All right. Say bye.
Good night, everyone. Live a good Christian life.